I came to the conclusion that Kamala Harris won many hearts, but Donald Trump won the votes. Her campaign in the last 3 or 4 months was simply infectious. And I think the momentum was amazing. And the kind of campaign that she ran within the very short period of time was very, very impressive. And that is why I was happy when I heard her say that she was proud about the campaign that they have run. And not just the campaign, but the way they ran it. And I think that was really, really a good point that she made. It wasn't just about the campaign that they ran, but the way that they ran the campaign was admirable. And I think that based on that, I believe that it wasn't only my heart that was won, but she won many hearts. But I think that Donald Trump won the votes at the end of the day and is set to become the 47th president of the United States of America. And I think that if you followed the debates and the news reportage carefully, I think it was always going to be a tall order for the Democrats to win this election. I think they lost it long before, Harris was introduced into the equation. Donald Trump was really, really beaten down on Biden and the Democrats. And that is what eventually resulted in the Democrats taking that, decision to drop Biden and to replace him with Kamala Harris. But the time was too short, and I would say it was damage control too late in the day. And I think that a lot of things went for Trump, like you said, and former President John Mahama referred to it recently when he recalled the elections between Bush and Clinton in the late 90s, where the economy was, the subject matter of that election, and how the Bush campaign at the time tried to, water down the effect of the economy, and how the Clinton team retorted that, look, it was about the economy, stupid. And clearly, when you try to relate what is happening in the United States of America with what is happening in Ghana, like the MPP have tried to do, you cannot but agree with His Excellency President Mahama when he says our Ghanaian election largely is also going to be about the economy, and it's also going to be about the track record of the two parties. And clearly His Excellency John Dramani Mahama stands tall when it comes to the management of the economy. And that is why it's quite interesting that many weeks after President Mahama posed, many days after President Mahama posed his 5 questions, His Excellency Dr. Mahmoud Bawumia have been very reluctant in answering those 5 simple questions. I mean, I am surprised that a man who posed 170 questions to late Vice President Ms. Atta is finding it difficult to answer just 5 simple questions. I mean, 170 questions. Can you imagine how wicked he was as an examiner at the time to want the Vice President Ms. Atta to answer 170 questions. Now, he's asked 5 simple questions, and I mean, he's all over the place, unable to prefer, an answer to even one of the questions. And the questions are simple. I mean, for example, why is the dollar now selling at about $1.17 Ghana cedis? Why are we now paying almost 17 Ghana cedis for $1? Simple question. I mean, he had a full, lecture on the depreciation of the cedi before he became vice president, and touted his knowledge and understanding of the economy as then deputy governor of the Bank of Ghana. So how come it is difficult for him to refer to that lecture that he presented when he was in opposition to tell us why? I mean, to answer that simple question of why we are now having to pay 17 Ghana cedis for just $1. When he and his government took over $1, about 4 cedis. The second question, very simple. Why has Ghana's debt ballooned to about 763 billion Ghana cedis? Again, he had a lecture on debt management and overborrowing and how to manage our debt. Where are the notes? Why can't he simply refer to those notes and provide an answer to this very simple, basic question of why our debt ballooned from 120 billion Ghana cedis since independence to 763 billion Ghana cedis under his watch as chairman of the economic management team? Very simple question. He has the notes. He simply has to refer to the notes and provide the answer. The third question, very simple. Why did inflation go to about 54%, now hovering around 20%? In fact, the last couple of weeks, it has increased again. And yet the government is still projecting end-of-year inflation at about 15%. But the question is, why? Why are we having to deal with such a high inflation when he dazzled with his lectures in opposition about how to, handle some of these fundamentals? I mean, these were the first 3 questions that His Excellency President Mahama asked on the day, but decided to give 2 supplementary ones. So you can call it 3A and 3B. I mean, they were very simple ones as well, and I thought that by now the Vice President would have provided answers to those questions. Why isn't he talking about the economy, for example? I mean, when you say this and they say, oh, it's digitalization, and I just told you about the digitalization of an economy is much more bigger than just the launching of apps. I mean, and you can trace the digitalization of an economy to what I said earlier about laying fiber optic cables across the country. That is providing the foundation for a digitalized economy, building data centers and digital centers like the one we have here in Accra, and many of those investments that the Minister of Communication did under President Mahama. So it's not just about launching apps when you talk about digitalizing an economy. But the question is, why is he not addressing the question of the economy when it is the most important thing to Ghanaians today, given how living conditions have worsened over the last 7 years. I mean, cement that we used to buy for about 25 Ghana cedis today, it's over 100 Ghana cedis. I mean, so with about 100 Ghana cedis, you could actually get 4 bags of cement. Four bags of cement. I mean, he said that was a very terrible economy and he was going to make life better. Today, with 100 Ghana cedis, you can't even get a bag of cement. You can't get one bag of cement. I mean, these are the issues that the everyday Ghanaian faces. A bag of rice was about, a bag of maize was about 70 Ghana cedis, 80 Ghana cedis, then when he said the economy was hard. Today, the average Ghanaian pays over 700 Ghana cedis for a bag of maize in northern region. And so, these are the fundamental issues that people want to hear him speak about. And I think that is what the Kamala Harris campaign in the United States of America also failed to address. Because clearly, at the end of the day, if you follow the media and you follow the reportage, the people of America decided on who they could trust to manage the economy better. And that is another issue that, that's another word that we have to pay attention to. The question of trust. The question of trust. Who has credibility? Who can you trust? And like I said, His Excellency Dr. Mahmoud Bawumia in our country today, in our politics, is very notorious when it comes to how he flip-flops and how you cannot trust what he says. I mean, too many videos are out there to make that point that he's not a man you can trust. No wonder he is said to be. A notorious liar. In our politics. So clearly, I think that apart from the issue of the economy, the other question of who you can trust going forward played a key role in the people of America choosing President Trump. You may hate him, you may love him, but at least you can trust him. You can trust what he says, and you can bank on his words, and even if it is unpleasant to you, you know that he means what he's saying. I mean, so that is what is going to feature also in the decisions that people are going to make in Ghana between President Mahama and Dr. Mahamudu Bawumia. Really, given the period of time they have all served in politics, and mind you, President Mahama has served in politics much longer than Dr. Mahamudu Bawumia. He's been in this public service much longer than Dr. Mahamudu Bawumia. But hardly can you point to any deception or dishonesty. Hardly can you associate President Mahama with dishonesty. I mean, it's even though he's been in this public space longer, Dr. Mahamudu Bawumia, who only came into the space between 2007 and now, has already earned the tag of being a notorious liar. So it is about who you can trust. And when you look at the promises President Mahama has made over the years on political platforms, vis-a-vis the deliveries or the deliverables that he has been able to chalk as president and vice president, it is clear that he is a man you can trust. He is a man who says what he means. He's not one who will tell you things that are palatable just so that he can win your votes. Even when it is not palatable, like when the question of ESLA wasn't palatable, he pushed it through. Today, Ghana is better, as a result of ESLA, even though this administration has mismanaged it. Still, we are better, because without it, we would have been in a worse situation. I mean, the question of teacher trainee allowances and nursing trainee allowances, even when it was unpopular, he said what he meant, and he stood by it. Even though it cost him his elections, he remains very steadfast in his thinking that the best approach to some of these things are the way that the NDC wants us to go. When he talked about many such things in the past that were considered unpopular, he still stood by it. So that is a man you can trust. That's a man who will not tell you things that you want to hear. It's not every time that he will tell you the things that you want to hear. That's a leader. A leader will take you to, a better place, even when you cannot imagine it yet. He may have to drag you there. Look at the question of National Service Secretariat and the, mismanagement and corruption associated with it at the time, and the difficult decisions he had to take to clean it up. Today, go and look at the National Service Secretariat. It's become, a rotten place once again. Look at Jida and what he did, to clean it up. Even though it wasn't pleasant, he, even in the process, had to step on the toes of very good friends. But that is a leader you can trust. So clearly, apart from the issue of the economy, which has influenced the decision of voters in the United States of America, which I am sure is going to influence the decisions of voters in Ghana, the question of who you can trust is also a key consideration. And between, Trump and Kamala Harris, it was clear that the people of America could, trust Trump more than they could trust Kamala Harris to deal with the question of the economy and many other things. But Randy, finally, another thing that may have been lost on people who have not followed this election critically was the question of rights versus family values in the United States of America. Rights versus family values. It was clear where Trump stood when it came to the question of human rights, especially as it relates to gay rights. Clear. And many of the states, in fact, Chicago and others, the polls showed that many people, even though they were uncomfortable with Trump, were happy with his position on gay rights, which, for him, was a no-go area. I mean, he thought that states, it shouldn't be imposed on states. And that should not also be lost on us as we go to the polls in about 30 days' time. Because we in this country also have that question of family values. And the fact that the Parliament of Ghana, 275 members of Parliament, have passed a law to make sure that we, protect our family values, and that law has been frustrated by the executive, of which Dr. Mahmoud Bawumia is part of, should not be lost on us. The fact that the executive have frustrated the attempts to pass a law that will protect and promote our family values, should not be lost on all of us as we approach this decision. And Randy, maybe a final one. I said finally earlier, but this one I mean to be a final point. The question of climate change was also, very prominent in the discussions. And with COP29 just around the corner and the election of Trump, I can imagine how uncomfortable many climate watchers are going to be. The fact that he is known as a climate denier and again has promised to frack and drill, baby, like he puts it. It's going to raise the question of, well, how stable will the world be when it comes to oil supply, vis-a-vis how our climate, is also going to be affected, and how he may roll back some of the laws that were passed by the Biden administration to promote a climate-friendly environment. These are questions that I know that the world will be grappling it with today, as Trump is set to become the 47th president of the United States of America. Right. But for here in Ghana, it is clear. Kamala Harris was a sitting vice president. He was #1 on the ballot, and he lost.